Running Sentences presents Pirates, Politics, and Potentially Treasure. Book 1, Part 8. Clockwork. Cordite goes about his job and trying to get the favors done, as the rest of the galaxy has suddenly gone treasure crazy. This story is written and narrated by Michael Honnery. It is a work of fiction. Any names, characters, businesses, events, and situations within this story are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to real people, real situations, events, characters, and/or fictional ones is purely coincidental. Copyright 2023, Michael Honnery. All rights reserved. The government security ship settled down onto the landing pad. It was then quickly surrounded by other galactic police officers and military people as the doors opened. Uvok was then led down onto the open gangplank, and then onto the hard cement, which he did not like one bit. There were no press, as he'd been promised. Instead, the whole thing was heavily guarded, and once on the ground he found himself being hurried towards a carriage car of some sort. "This isn't what I was promised." "Sir, as the head of guards of the elite unit, I can promise you that whatever was promised to you will come true. It is a matter of timing." "I don't care. It's supposed to happen now, and this arrest is illegal. I need the press to see this." "No, sir, it is not. You have no papers aboard this ship. You came on and then resisted arrest. We already have the footage from your ship showing such things. I am Major Dan Bundy, and I am taking charge of you for now. Please do not make this any more annoying than it already is." "I am a president." "And I am a major. Until matters can be fully sorted out, you are going to jail. Your government can make its case for your release this afternoon. Until then, shut up." There were only a few feet until they had arrived at the carriage, which he was then rudely stuffed into. The refurbished and reworked GRS Hurt was setting sail across space again. No destination in mind, but Drought knew that he had to patrol some parts of space. Once far enough away from the planet Grogian, he could do whatever he wanted to do, but that wouldn't be for another day or so. Until then, he would have to figure out if his old crew and new crew could work together. Right now, his major worry was that the new XO, a man named Smithers, who looked a bit volcanic from how red he appeared, but was otherwise normal-looking Grogian on all appearances. He just did not trust that look, and there was nothing else that really stood out about this humanoid-like creature. "Sir, all is well, and we are well underway." "Yes, I can see that perfectly well. You don't need to report it to me. It's by the book, though, sir." A look about the bridge of the ship brought no help, as everyone was either training or maintaining the vessel on its course. Left with no one to help him, he turned to the young alien. "There is a right way and a wrong way to do things out in space. You learn quickly that by the book means death." "Sir, how could it mean death? I know it was forged by those that came before us, who came close but survived the evils of space and pirates." He gave his XO a stern but sad look. "No, it was not. Those Grogians were completely ignored in the building of the rulebook, those that survived and nearly died. The truth is, the set of rules was written by a bunch of paper pushers who sat behind desks their whole career and spend more time talking to politicians than naval folk." A look at Smithers told Drought that his words weren't exactly believed, but that was what had happened in this case, and apparently the XO had never gotten the news. "You're saying our work is in danger because the book isn't to be followed?" "No, it has some basic stuff that is good, like launching boats and getting troops in order. When it comes to the day-to-day running, though, or combat, those things are rather useless. Why don't you take some time, look through that book, and explore the ship some, and you'll find enough officers and enlisted men who will tell you to put that thing away and to discover that it doesn't hold all of the answers." I didn't think it had all of the answers." "Well, that's good to hear. Now go explore and come back when you've learned something." With a guarded expression, the XO began moving off, as Drought shook his head in annoyance. Cordite had hurried back to his hotel room after his little meeting at the Grogian embassy. He had no way to access the database of bounties without a computer, and he doubted doing so, and the hotel one was all that great of an idea. Pacing about his room, he was trying to think about what he could do when the door opened, and in came Doc Mott and Lion, both looking rather curious as to what was going on. "We saw you rush in here. Something going on?" "Yes, boss. What is wrong?" How would you two get access to the database for bounties?" "Talk to a few people off-planet. They would probably give it up for the right price." "But you have to go meet them, right? I don't have time to go out into space, come back, and do all of that. I've traded a favor for a favor, and I need access now, preferably. Can any of the crew figure out a way around the security to get at the database?" "Depends on exactly what you're looking for in that. I'm guessing names and numbers or something?" "A name. The one that put up a bounty on the princess and the prince of the Grogian Empire." There was a confused look on the two faces of his associates. Lion turned to make sure that the door was closed, and once he did, they both came closer and hushed their voices a bit. "Why them?" "Well, Doc, because they can get me information so that I can pass it along to Ophelia, and then we all go back to ignoring one another. It's stupid, but that's my job. I'm a middleman, apparently." "I don't understand, boss." "I tell them who set up the bounty. They give me access to maps, which is what Ophelia is after, and everybody gets off my back." "And what do we get out of this?" "Not much other than stuck in the middle of a shit situation. We might get a good relationship out of this and can work with these Grogians down the road to decrease hostilities between us and them. It's a long shot of a thing, but that's what I'm thinking I'm supposed to be doing. I don't really know." "Well, I can ask around the crew, but without some secure connections and privacy, it seems like a bad idea." Cordite was nodding his head yes, and he cast a glance out the window at the gloomy orange sky outside. There was a city hidden in the haze that hid what were many buildings, and some of them probably skyscrapers, from view. He kind of wanted to go out there and see what the town had to offer and debate and talk to other people, but at this moment it seemed unlikely. "Right. First order of business, then, since we occupy a hotel, is take it over. This will be our base of operations, our embassy, so to speak. I'll tell the president, or whoever will listen to me, that this is our place until something proper comes up, if something proper comes up. You two go search out for a way to connect ourselves to the underside of that network that hosts bounties." The nod two departed, and Cordite turned to the hotel room phone and went over to it, picking it up. The line on the other side was instantly answered. "This is the security for the Empire, Mr. Cordite. Who do you wish to call?" "The President, or if he is unavailable at the moment, someone to pass a message along to him." "What is the message?" Okay, so since no embassy has been built for us to work from, we are taking over this hotel. All pirate work will be out of this building until somewhere better is found. That's my message." "I will pass that along, but I don't know if it will go over well." "Well, then the president or somebody can come over and talk to us, or whoever you send can come over and talk to me. Just, pass the message along, and if it comes back, so be it." With that, he hung up the phone. Cricket, Nero, and Tulis all sat in Cricket's office, each with a computer in front of them, typing away to get some sort of solution, and trying to get around the fact that they might need pirates to find out who would put bounties on them. This, along with the reams of files that dotted the space, and some takeaway food meant they'd been there a bit longer than any of them wanted to be. Cricket rubbed his tired eyes as he looked up towards his two new associates. "How sure are we that this threat is real?"
"It is known across the galaxy, so for us it is too real. Have you found out anything in your searches, Mr. Cricket?"
"Unfortunately, no, Nero. I can only see that it has been posted, not by who or why the price was suddenly raised. Whoever keeps this list and its broadcast across the galaxy knows how to protect it."
"Then why would pirates know how to get into it?" "Because they know back doors and have those sorts of connections. I don't trust any of this, by the way. Why do you, Tullus?"
"I don't know, and I don't think I do, but there is something about Cordite that gives me the feeling I should at least trust him somewhat. I don't fully do that, but I know he's a pirate and not worth listening to much. But there is a space where I think I can at least give him some leeway. I mean, he did help us out." "Well, to this I can't find anything, and if you really do trust this figure, it might be best to go to them to find out what they know and see what they say. It comes at a cost that you will have to pay, if you really are pursuing all of this." "Are you going to tell higher-ups about all of this? You aren't going to cover the cost of it?" "I can look the other way for certain things, but not a lot, so yes. You will have to pay the fees, or whatever it is that this pirate wants."
"We shouldn't go through with this. I don't think that they will get us any more information than we already have."
Tullus, though, was rising from her seat and was stretching.
"I will go and talk to them. At very least, it can't hurt to get more information, can it?
I don't know that I will go much further, but if you'll excuse me, I'll go see what I can get." She began moving away from her chair and then gently set down the computer that had been on her lap on top of it. The deep, hidden space station that the pirates called home had been a busy port call lately. Yelphy and Pork stood by a window looking out over the transport docks in one of the various government buildings that looked over the space. Neither was talking at the moment as they watched the transports come in, and then, once they'd landed, they were then pulled off to the side for a parking bay, all so that another one could hurry in and land.
"What are we going to do?"
"Rumors just that. Not worth the effort, Miss Yelphy."
"Yes, but it is the first time someone has really pushed the idea that the galactic government has some kind of treasure."
"Zol is a fool. It's Ophelia. I would not worry about what she is after. She is always up to something and left in a hurry, and left rumors following her. And I think that's exactly what she wants, is for everyone to suddenly get an idea about treasure."
"Well, now she's connected with the galaxy, it will be harder to make a move against her."
Ships kept coming and going at a good clip, with all sorts emerging and disappearing. Many of them not looking very pirate-like at all, which to Pork spelt bad things. He wasn't about to say that out loud, though, not in front of the crow of a lady who would talk to the other pirate officials. There would be time and place to do that, but right now he was going to shut up and watch.
"You're hiding something, Pork. I know you are, because that's what you do. And I can see with my own eyes that this port has already changed."
"Too many unfamiliar faces. If they can find us..."
"It is time that we move the space stations again."
"We will be found even if we don't, and if we do. I was thinking, though, we might use this newly installed official to at least put some roadblocks up for us and protect our hideaway."
"To stop the searches? For us, you mean?"
"Yes, I want you and the others to think this is a good idea. You are, after all, the most influential of our little conclave." She looked away from the window for a moment towards him, studying him.
You don't believe that for one bit. There's something else you're after, but I don't know what it is yet. I will find it, and I will bring you down if you are doing something bad." He merely nodded as she turned and marched out of the little room. The thing was, she wasn't entirely wrong. What he was planning would be the end of him if he was found out. That is, if they could find out in the first place. Having had a rather boring morning, President Utility simply sat in the office chair, waiting for something to happen. That's usually how things happened in politics. Sit around and something would pop up. If you went to search for it, though, it ran away and hid in impossible places to find the news. It was without a doubt the weirdest of things. Always seemed to happen. The door then opened and in strolled one of his advisors, a Gwen from Planet Louie, if he remembered correctly. She was a tigress of a woman or a man. He'd never bothered to find out which she was or whether he should find out, and just went along with whatever his imagination thought up, since trying to look might end up with him getting clawed by her vicious or his vicious claws. "So there is a development with the pirates. Good things are happening. What exactly is happening, though?" "They've taken over the new hotel." "Oh, did they offer a reason for this, Gwen?" "They needed an officer and said, since we hadn't provided one, that they would take over the hotel until we gave them a more appropriate spot." "That's all. I guess I'm gonna give it to them for now. Do they need anything for it, or is it just... that's okay? Is that just going to be okay?" "A request for supplies and secure connections into the galactic net that we cannot snoop into without some illegal methods." "Oh, standard embassy stuff. How boring. Approved. I thought something interesting was happening." "There is some stuff that has caught a bit of attention, plus your own, sir." "What is it, then? Tell me. Keep things entertaining, please." The rumors about treasure." Utility nodded along and made sure to note all of this down in a nearby notepad. Once it was down, he looked it over and then frowned. "I had the prison guards changed to get information from the one who attacked us. It was about a hidden treasure, yes. Did anything come out of that, or is it just another mouth moving, trying to get out of trouble?" His advisor looked upward for a moment, and before meeting the gaze of the president again. "No information so far, but they put Zull in a time advancement chamber to push things forward a bit." "Yes, push harder. Do we know what other rumors are going around? I mean, treasure always causes a madhouse run on things, so getting ahead of that would be a great idea. Even a good one, maybe." "Not sure. Some word out of there. Someone found some precious stones in the Blur region, and now a few are headed out here and there, and, the old Grogian rumors are out there as well." "Oh, then the press is going to be all over this, aren't they?" "Do you wish to deny that this is a potential treasure or gem run?" With a headshake, he smiled. "Oh, that would be silly, and the press would only say that the opposite is true. No, we say we don't know much, but that there is potentially something going on, a treasure hunt or something. We will be approving an expedition towards the Grogian region, I believe, as soon as we can gather the proper troops for it." A frown grew on the advisor Gwen's face. She noted all of this down in some sort of device hidden on the crook of her arm. "Anything else?" "Get that prisoner talking, otherwise we might be left in the dark about potential treasures being hidden away." She nodded and departed from the room. Cordite found himself sat in the conference room of the hotel, which now had computers and cables running all over the place. There wasn't anyone in his crew who was great with computers or hacking, and this left them trying to call in other favors and pressing a few buttons on the bounty site to see if they could break it and if it would let them beyond what they saw. So far, as Cordite pressed the screen for what felt like the 1,000th time, nothing
happened. There was a red light beeping in the corner of the screen, which meant someone was calling him, but he didn't want to answer it, and nothing good came from answering calls lately. Unfortunately, there was a timer for how long he could delay any phone message, which now popped up all on its own. The alligator head of Frank popped into the screen. This was the owner of the bounty site, and notorious for not listening to anyone. "You're the new pirate ambassador or something, Mr. Cordite, or whatever your name is. Listen, I don't like people poking around my business, so stop it. I can see where the attacks are coming from, and why you're doing it I don't know, but stop it." The message cut off there and minimized itself. This was no surprise to Cordite. He sat back in his chair to rub his eyes. There had to be a way around this, but his mind wasn't figuring it out at the moment. "Sir, there is a Princess Tulis in the lobby to see you. Said it was important." "Probably after the promised information. I'll go talk to her and see what I can do to buy us a little more time." He got up slowly as Doc Mott took over his spot. After a short stop at a water fountain, Cordite made his way to the lobby, which was only occupied by a few pirates and Tulis. She was eyeing them carefully as they lazed about the space, unconcerned with her. He moved his way towards her with a polite wave. "Hello." "Miss Tulis, or should I call you Princess?" "My name is fine. I'm here to talk to you about your offer." Yes, the information. And can we get assurances that your side is going to keep its side of the promises?" "I'm working on it, as is the ambassador, who is most certainly interested in helping out for whatever his reason is." "But you come to me because there is some sort of problem, though?" She offered a smile and reached out with one of her hands towards his arm to assure him. "I don't think I'm that easy to see through, but you've hit the nail on the head." "I didn't see through you. That's just the way most aliens talk when it comes to trying to hide things in plain sight. What's the problem?" "We need a bit more time to get the proper permissions for the maps, and I wanted to make sure that you were keeping up your end of the bargain as well, if that's okay." He grimaced at that. The search hadn't gone well, but there was hope if he could get in touch with some people. "We are keeping our end of the deal as best we can. It is, like your side, taking a bit longer than we would have liked, but I think I might be able to speed things up and along to get the answers to you by tomorrow." Having stayed close and not removed her hand from his arm, she seemed to get a bit closer to study his face for a moment. "Why are you getting this information for us? Is it for me? Do you have a crush on me?" "It's a trade and a fair one, and I'll ignore the other part of that question." "That isn't what I meant. You could have given something else. Why this? Why this trade?" He took a moment to think whether or not he should go with the truth. She seemed nice enough, but he'd come across many aliens who were nice enough. They then turned on him when the time came, and left him in the dump as a result. Still, he went with the truth. "Well, I did so because I figured it would be something you would want. It helps you out, and it helps me out. Fastest way to a solution is... so I took it." Her face seemed a little crescent-fallen at that answer, but then brightened up. "I see. So me and my brother are just cogs in a greater machine to get what you want?" "Well, technically, yes, but also not exactly what I want, but what another pirate wants. That is my job as a middleman, and it is your job to get the best deal for the Empire of the Grogians, and, so this is just a question of really, should we be going along with such a skimpy plan and such a terrible trade, really?" With the momentary pause by her, Cordite wondered if there would be an actual answer. He guessed not, and decided not to press his luck on that matter. "I'm sure you have some grand reasonings for the things you do, and that is great, perhaps so that you can see tomorrow and the days beyond that. When I have some information on who is after you and your brother, I'll get in touch with the embassy and visit, okay?" Looking rather happy to escape at just that, Tulis nodded her head yes and took a step away from Cordite. Then, with a polite wave, headed off towards the entrance. He waited for a moment before turning to see Lion by his side. "You needed something, boss?" "Yes, actually. You like Ophelia, or she likes you, right?" There was a shrug from his companion. "Potentially." "Well, she is good at getting things, and I thought that during my little chat with Tulis, our friends out there might be able to get us around that security on the bounty list. After all, Ophelia seems connected to everyone and anyone who knows things, and if she wants those maps, tell her we need access to the information as a trade." "Don't think she's going to like that." "She doesn't have to like it, but I'm also sure that she realizes it gets us what we all want, and that is all that matters. Go talk to her, please." Cordite began walking away, noting the look of unhappiness on Lion's face. The big man wasn't exactly happy with the request, but he would do it. Ophelia had her ship moving at a steady pace, cloaked to look like a cargo transport to any radars as they cruised through space. She stood with the captured Captain Tree on the observation deck, taking in the endless bounds of space before them. He was still trussed up and snarling in his usual Grogian fashion. "I'm offering you a chance at freedom. Work with us, former Captain Tree." "I am still a captain." "Right, fine, you're still one. But what is your choice? Work or get sent out into space? Which will it be?" "You wouldn't eject me out into space. I know pirates and no one does that kind of thing." "You don't know many aliens, then. Also, your own people do it all the time, as a form of torture. Tying aliens to a rope and then send them out, then yanking them back in." The captain had a bit of a nervous look to him, but didn't seem to have anything to say to that. "You can pretend it doesn't happen, but I have had sailors who have experienced or seen it first hand. It is, of course, all up to you if you want such a thing to happen to you." "What do you even want?" "A location." "You think a simple captain like me of Marines would have location secrets?" She smiled and turned as the door opened behind her, and one of her officers came in, but held back away from them. "Then you do know that your government has secret locations?" "Know of, but don't know about them." "Fair. For now we will take you back to your cell, and you can think a little longer." The hulking yet hidden robot guard that had plastered itself to the wall came uncloaked, rolled over to them, and then, with a nod towards Ophelia, grabbed up Captain Tree, who offered no resistance and was then dragged from the room. She hadn't let her eyes off of her associate, who now came forward. "Is it Cordite, or is it someone who has pissed me off?" "It is Lion, ma'am, who works with Cordite. Wishes to know if you can get access to the bounty system. Says that the maps rest on getting that information for him." She lulled this information over in her mind, a slight smile coming to her. It didn't take a genius to know that she was now being used as she had been trying to use Cordite. Perhaps he wasn't as dumb as she had thought. "Do we have any crew who could get that for us?" "A couple could attempt it, but those that I talked to all said it would get a bounty put on us, and it would be a high one if we succeeded." "Yes, well, we already have a bounty on us for trafficking goods, and that one is pretty damned high. Tell them to do their best, but not get caught. Should be fun. Let's get that information." There was a nod from the officer, who faded back towards the elevator door and left. Ophelia turned to look over at space before her. A massive space sign began pointing towards the Grogian Empire, indicating that it was several light years away. The ship kept on its path as she turned away to find something else to do. After enough braying and complaining, President Evok had been brought to a conference meeting room. Originally, they'd stuffed him into a cell in this place and left him for the day. It had felt like It was a day, but time really made no sense since it had been so closed off, and he wasn't really sure how things operated here, so it could have been a minute or days. He sat down at the long table and watched two aliens, one short and one big one whose height reached towards the ceiling, standing by the door in black suits. They didn't look like the typical guards, which might be a good sign or it might mean something else. Ivok hoped for good things as he stared at the door, which now opened for him, but in strolled President Utility, who had another two aliens behind him, all of them looking rather busy and annoyed that they had to come here. Finally, someone to talk to about how poorly I've been treated. Utility took a few steps towards the table, but stopped himself from going far into the room. A disgusted look had crossed his face. I don't want to deal with criminals, but in this case I must. I am not a criminal. You are to the galactic government without proper papers, and after it was attacked. That spells criminal to me, President Ivok. Trying his best to control his temper, Ivok clenched at the table in front of him. This place was not for the likes of him. If this was how he was going to be treated, or if this is how they treated anyone of any importance. He had plans to do, and they were being risked, and they would not get underway unless he was free. I demand my release. Well, this is a complicated thing, and I can't just release you. First, there must be some requests from your embassy, and then the proper paperwork must be filled out, then approved by the right departments. It is a lot of red tape for one idiot who hasn't yet had a single government official demand his release. Ivok wanted to shout out as he rose from his seated position. It's because they don't know I'm here. Yes, they do. You came on your government ship, which docked, and had everyone else disembark with no problems. I'd say that you might want to think hard about your idea that no one knows you're here. President Utility then waited a bit of a moment to make sure his words had their intended effect. But if you're willing to strike a deal with me, I can get you as free as you were the other day, yesterday even. It would be like you were never even in our jail system. What kind of a deal? There are some stories going around about hidden goods. I think it happens to be near your empire. Some people say it isn't, some say it is. Trade information on that and ignore the other rumors that you have going on around you. There are no other rumors about the Grogian Empire or me. A chuckle escaped from Utility, who moved about the room with an air of confidence, though he never got any closer than he already was. You take the galaxy for fools. That is the second time I've heard that lately. I don't care what you think. There's no deal to be made with criminals like you. As you wish, Mr. President. Execute him immediately, guards. With that, the two security guards who'd been by the door stepped forward as the galactic president moved to leave. I do happen to know some stuff of the government of Grogian, though. You had your chance. Tomorrow morning you will be dead and announced as the leader of a rebellion against the galaxy. Such is fate. Morning came in a brightly sunlit courtyard where public executions were taken care of was already packed with aliens. Zol found himself dragged up beside another alien he didn't know and probably couldn't get to know. Both of their mouths were gagged, so all that could occur was a muffled noise from either of them. The two were held in a location behind a large scaffolding structure that had pieces of rope hanging from the top. Aliens of all types, people, creatures of the galactic world, hear me. The government was recently attacked by a force who didn't even announce themselves. They tried to sneak attack our people, our connectedness. There was no great cheer, but a murmur and a grumble of the crowd gathered that they could hear but not see. Zol was practically kicking himself for having walked into this situation and not having a way out of it. This rebellion was found out about as they tried to arrive on our front door, pretending like they were doing nothing and that nothing had happened. We have captured 2 of them, and they now must face the death penalty for their crimes. These 2 were the supposed sworn enemies. A pirate and a Grogian president, leaders against the galactic government, planners of nefarious deeds. Today we will send them to the gallows and to the pits. At this, the 2 were then pushed forward towards the stairs leading up the scaffolding. The other alien, who Zol assumed was this president person, was going before him, led by 2 soldiers. There was no room to try anything, and even if he wanted to, the binds on him were bound too tight. Way too tight. They would emerge on top of the platform, where 2 nooses stood ready and waiting their necks, along with President Utility. These are the 2 criminals. The crowd stared up at the structure and began to boo as the 2 were pushed to the front of the stage so that everyone could see them. There were also a few odd vegetables that were thrown towards them, with some of them falling well short of their intended targets. For the whole galaxy and for the betterment of our lives, they will hang. You cannot break the law of the galactic government and get away with it. Executioner, are you ready? I will do your bidding. The big, tentacled alien, dressed in all black, turned to the prisoners as Zol felt himself pushed towards the ropes. Everything was moving so fast. He felt like he'd never been given a chance or a choice at all. The executioner, though, was already upon him, grabbing him up with a tentacle and pulling him firmly into place over to where one of the ropes was. It was soon positioned around his neck. This alien is a pirate who has robbed, smuggled, and scavenged all the way across the galaxy and all of space that he could get to. He has no regard for law or order. Under the orders of this Grogian president, he attacked our ships. With the noose firmly attached and ready, the executioner turned their attention to the other alien, who only took a few seconds to get in place. This supposed president struggled heavily against their bonds and the noose going around their neck. There was little that could be done to stop it as Zol watched the struggling figure who kept trying. As for this one, well, we all know President Evok of the Grogian Empire. There is no need to repeat all that he's done. It is a long list, and you aren't here to listen to me talk. All is ready and set, sir. Thank you, Executioner. You may take up your station. With a nod, the big tentacle aliens did as he was told, moving off to the side. Then President Utility moved over to the 2, standing on their little platform as they were ready to drop away. Do you 2 have anything to say for yourselves? Last words of goodbye? The gags, though, were still firmly in their mouths, as the 2 about to be executed aliens looked to one another and offered mere mumbling of noise. No, I thought not. Too scared to talk. Too scared to think. Fools who went against all that is right and wrong in this world. Let them drop. The trap doors under the feet of Zol and Evok opened on the order. The collection of Cordite, Mott, Lion, and Francis stood among the crowd watching the execution. The trap floors had just dropped open, and the thwack of the tightening ropes against the weighted objects of aliens could be heard in the sudden hushed silence. Cordite crossed his arms as he watched the figures limply hang from the gallows. Well, that is one less thing to worry about, potentially. That would be nice, but you know as well as I do, Francis, that until we have proof that no one is really dead, and I don't believe those two have been killed, especially when it comes to the government.
And, as far as we're all aware, hangings can be fixed to appear to be good by any really good doctor or executioner.
Is that why, Doc, the pirates all have been so quiet about this all?
Potentially, Lion. More likely, those pirates don't want to get involved in things bigger than them. And, there's treasure in the air, and that's more pressing matter.
Yeah, the hunt for a planet filled with treasure, or at least has some treasure on it, will drive everybody probably bonkers. Everyone already has heard rumors about it and wants it. Cordite had turned his attention away from the hanging as he looked about to see if the Grogian contingency was here. From what he could spot amongst the thick crowd, they did not appear to be. A pity, since it would make dropping off the information they had easier. And since there's nothing left for us to do here, unless you want to go check out the bodies, Mont, I think we need to get moving.
I'd love to make sure if those two are really dead. I doubt we could get close to examining them, though.
It is the perfect time to try, so why don't we? Let's go see those bodies. With a shrug and a nod, Cordite agreed with Francis, as they began moving through the crowd to see if they could visit these dead people. End of Book 1, Part 8 of Pirates, Politics, and Potentially Treasure. Thank you for listening.